Toastmasters and honored guests. Welcome. I came here tonight specially to share with you this little story I heard the other day. It's a folk tale. So what I want you to do is to sit back, relax, and enjoy. One fine day, a little pleasure vessel left the harbor in Shanghai. It was going to northern China. It was a great atmosphere on board. Everybody was so excited. But suddenly something changed. As soon as they left the harbor, a big storm came. Imagine these huge black clouds and the winds. The poor ship started to go up, down over the waves, almost impossible to control. But the misery was not over, because plague struck, and one by one, everybody in the ship started getting sick, crewmen and passengers alike. And then they started dying. Until one day, one little boy stood on the deck. Ying Lo was his name, and he was the sole survivor. I want you to imagine now this poor little creature, all alone in the stormy sea, surrounded by dead bodies. He started to cry, and he pleaded to the gods, "Take me as well. Take me. Spare me this misery. My family all died yesterday. There is nobody for me." Then suddenly, as he looked up towards the heavens, he saw a huge fireball hurtling towards him. At first he thought the gods had answered his prayers, because the fireball for sure would destroy the ship quickly. But no, to his astonishment, the fireball came and sat on the deck and started rolling towards him, and nothing caught on fire. The little boy stared and stared until the fireball came right in front of him. Then it vanished, and in its place was a strange little old man, very finely dressed though, and with a big iron staff in his hand. "Let me see, boy. Yes, you're Ying Lo. I have finally found you." Ying Lo was shocked. "Do I know you, sir?" "Think back to last winter. Didn't a beggar come into your village, wearing filthy rags, starving? That was I. But your cruel fellow villagers, they wanted to throw me out. They slammed the doors in my faces and set their dogs on me. I was in despair until you saw me, and you rushed to feed me with this big plate of food. And then your mother grabbed you, and she beat you cruelly for wasting food on a stranger." "Ah," said little Ying Lo, "yes, I remember you, but I don't understand." "Look well, boy, because I am Iron Staff." Immediately, Ying Lo fell to his knees. "Are you the fabled Iron Staff, the merciful king of the fairies?" "Indeed, boy, that is I." Immediately, Ying Lo became excited. "That means you can do miracles. Please, kind king of the fairies, please, sire. My mama's dead, my papa's dead, my brothers. Can you bring them back to life? I'm so alone." The king stared at him for a while in surprise. "My boy, it's not that simple. You can't just bring somebody back to life. And for me to be merciful, I must have received love in return. I received nothing from your fellow villagers. But for your sake, I will try. But you have to do two things first. Number one, I want you to tell me of one good deed that your parents did in the last years." "Ah, yes, of course. Last year, they went to the temple and they burned incense for the gods. Surely, sire, that was a noble act. But why did they do it? Well, my big brother, he was sick. The medicine man came with his special nettleweed brew, but it did nothing. So they went to the temple. I knew it. Selfish. Selfish people. Isn't it true that it's your older brother who puts the food on the table? He's the one who goes out to the fields every day to bring in food. Isn't that true? Well, yes. So they saved him because they needed him for their own good. That doesn't work. So poor little Ying Lo was thinking desperately. You know, 3 years ago, sire, a stranger came to our village and he collapsed outside our door. And what did my parents do? They brought him in the house. And for how long? Well, the stranger died 2 hours later. So what did they do with his belongings? His bedroll, his horse, his money? Did they try to contact his loved ones? Well, not really. You see, my father felt that this was payment for bringing him in. So we kept everything. Forget it, the king of the fairies says. It looks as though your parents have done no kind deeds. The poor little boy started thinking desperately. He looked down and thought and thought. The hours went by, but for him, it was a priority, so he struggled. Later on that day, he went up to the king of the fairies again, and in a very small voice said to him, Sire, something has occurred to me. Maybe for you it's trivial, but to me it is a kind act. You see, last summer, we were tending garden with my father, planting new seeds, when all these little birds came down to eat them. My mother was going to poison them, but my father said, nay, let the little ones live. It's a shame to kill them. Wasn't that kind of him? So Ironstaff considered. Okay, son, since you want it so badly, I accept it as a kind deed. But there's one more thing. Are you prepared to make a sacrifice? Anything. I will sacrifice anything for my family. I will even die for them. Very well. So Ironstaff dexterously waved his staff, and there suddenly his family woke up. They stood there staring in amazement. So Ironstaff took the opportunity. You evil people, you should have been dead now in hell. You were summoned there by the gods. But because of your son who loves you, you came back. He had to make a sacrifice. He was going to fairyland today with me, but he will stay on earth to teach you how to love. But if you ever treat him badly again, I will come, and I will take him to fairyland, and you will die. Then he waved his staff again. The ship was back in the harbor, and Ironstaff had vanished. So Ying Lo took his parents' hands, and they jumped off the ship to go to their village and live a happy, loving,